Instagram here. Okay. Oh my gosh. That 4-day weekend was marvelous, wasn't it? I don't know what day it is today, but we overslept. I mean, it was a morning. We got up when we are supposed to leave for school. The whole family overslept. Okay, recording a podcast yet again, guys. Thanks for being here. Let's get into it. Someone just started a loud car right outside the window. Oh well, who cares? We're moms. We can tune things out, right? Okay. Check. Recording, streaming. Okay. All right, if you look at this podcast title and think journaling, okay, I'm thinking Dear Diary. I have this pink diary that I got at the book fair in 5th grade. The pages are pink. It has like this metal collapsible lock, and you use that tiny little key so that your brother doesn't get into your diary, and it's just like this silly little girl thing. Girl, I am going to be teaching you a lot today. Okay. Journaling is not just for kids. Journaling is a huge life tool that I have personally used through the storms that life has brought my way in the last couple years in particular. And today I am passing on all that I have learned so that you can up level your journaling or just start journaling. So if you already journal, this is a great episode to listen to. If you haven't picked up a journal in years or ever, this is a great episode for you. So keep listening. Basically, I actually went to this like fancy spa wellness center place for a retreat a year ago, and they had a journaling class. And so I literally thought of you guys and myself too. But I was like, I'm going to go to this class, learn everything I can, and do a podcast episode on it because journaling, even at that point, had become such a huge part of my life. So, quick roadmap for this episode because you're busy and so am I. I'm going to tackle your 3 biggest objections to journaling because I know you have them. I did too. The next thing I'm going to do is uncover for you the 4 most amazing things that journaling will bring to your life. And honestly, it was really hard to choose only 4 because there are so many benefits, but I'm just doing the top 4. I'm also going to share a list of 5 things that you need to bring to journaling right now, including about how much time I would suggest using each day. Next, I'm going to break down exactly how to get started right now, like today, tomorrow morning, including my number 1 rule of journaling. I'm also sharing 10 journal prompts to get writing if you don't know where to start. And of course, details on my personal journaling practice and how it's evolved. And I'll even be reading a few excerpts from my personal journal to get your creative juices flowing. Woo! Okay. So if you're watching right now, this is my journal. I have it right here to share from. All right, so about a year ago, I had an overwhelming desire to just get away from my house, to have some time to myself, and I asked my cousin if she wanted to meet somewhere. And so we decided on Savannah Wellness Resort and Spa. It's in Arizona, and listen to the name of the town it's in Arizona. It's in Carefree, Arizona. I'm like, did the spa name the town? This is great. I'll share a link in the episode notes if you're curious. It's not sponsored. Pretty much nothing I do is sponsored. So it's just me sharing from my life here on She Just Glows, the podcast, and on She Just Glows on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I think that's it. YouTube. So we decided on Savannah, and okay, the first night we got there, I don't know if you guys have ever been to one of these wellness retreat places, but there was something called an intention burning ceremony. And so I was like, that's cool. Like, you know, we just got off the plane. We like threw our stuff in the room. I threw on my Uggs and some cozy outfit, and we went out to this outdoor area for the intention burning ceremony. When I tell you that it was literally, I thought, oh, this will be easy. You just write your intentions down and like burn them in the fire pit. Oh no, we were in this huge circle and everyone's sharing. And I'm like, okay, I was not mentally prepared to share. I mean, the minute I opened up to like even say my name and where I was from, I was just bawling. I was just in one of those places where I was so raw. I was so fragile. And that was exactly the trip that I needed. And journaling, if you are feeling raw, if you are feeling fragile, if you are feeling stressed and you have a big decision on your plate, or you have something in your life that's just not working, but you're having a hard time breaking away from it, journaling, my friend, will help you. Introduce journaling into your daily practice, and I promise you, you will have so much more clarity. I was actually just speaking to a client right before recording this podcast about journaling. She has some things happening in her life and her children's lives that are stressful, and she's very much not in control of these things. And I said, okay, what we need to do is we need to get out a journal and we need to write down your biggest fears right now. We need to write down the worst case scenario. And what happens when you do that? And what happens when you do that is you're releasing some of the worry because your journal has it now. Your journal will remember. You don't need to keep it in your brain. It helps with the noise in your mind. Oh, so much good stuff about journaling. By the way, if you're interested in working together, I'm a joy coach. I help you bring joy back to your life. If your life looks picture perfect from the outside and no one would ever suspect that you are just straight up not happy at all in your own life, you're not alone, girl. You are not alone. I would be my honor to work with you privately as a private coaching client in my joy coaching practice. You can find more information about that in the episode notes and reach out if you are interested. I'm so excited. My schedule's filling up again now in spring. We're almost to spring. Can you believe that? I can't. I feel like it was just summer 5 minutes ago and we're already talking about summer for this year. Okay, so at this wellness resort, there was a journaling session. It was actually called Journaling for Transformation. Journaling for Transformation. And it was a couple days later, and I went to it and I took notes just for you guys. And I'm going to use that in my teaching today, along with my personal experience. So right off the bat, I have to get to why you don't want to journal. I know you have so many reasons, and they're good reasons. I had reasons too for many years. Your 3 biggest objections to journaling. The first objection is like, Janie, I don't want to. Like, I don't want to journal. Kiki Ashley 77 on Instagram said, I find journaling so hard for me, and I don't know why that is. Okay, so Kiki Ashley 77, I have a thought on this. The first thing I want to tell you is your inner critic wants to prejudge and overthink. And so the inner critic inside of you is already shutting down the journaling idea. And building a life that is marked by joy, which is literally my job for my clients, and in my own life, I certainly practice what I preach. The key in walking into a life that is marked by joy and purpose is learning to quiet that inner critic, learning to notice when she is being critical and just watch those critical thoughts flow in and out of your mind and not become attached to those critical thoughts about yourself. And you are talking to someone who is extremely self-critical. In fact, I just came out of a several-month depression after a really traumatic time in our family and in my marriage. Things got better with us, and then I just decided to go and get depressed for several months. It was so annoying. But honestly, I learned something about myself, which is that in my lowest time, my default is to be self-critical. My default is to pick myself apart. How heartbreaking is that, right? And so I speak on this from a position of empathy and understanding and not judgment at all. I'm there too. So your inner critic is going to want to go ahead of you right now and say, this is stupid. Journaling is for the weak. This is like whooshy gushy feeling stuff. You don't have time for this. Okay. And so my message to you would be, first of all, this is for your eyes only. You don't need to share what's in your journal. You don't need to be frightened. Be honest. Don't censor. You're not sharing this with your friends. And so if you just don't want to journal, my response would be stop thinking about all the reasons it won't work and just try it. Okay, just try it. Your second objection, this was mine. What if someone finds it? Like, no, like if I'm going to really be honest here in my journaling, like no one can read this, okay? No one. Some feedback on that from me would be, first of all, I've noticed in my house of 6 people, no one cares where my journal is. My life coach said, hide your journal in plain sight. Like just leave it out. Leave it with your Bible. Leave it like just, on the counter. If you're hiding it, that's when people become interested in it, okay? People are less curious when it's not hidden. But if you're in a place where you just really don't want anyone finding it, I don't know, hide it. Hide it. Put it under your mattress. Put it in your center console of your car. Put it under the couch cushion. Put it in your nightstand. Put it in your underwear drawer, okay? I don't know. Just put it somewhere, okay? I will get into this later in the episode, but I really do think I will get into this later in the episode, but my recommendation for journaling is always a paper journal, not a digital journal. Because when you're on your phone typing out your thoughts, first of all, you're not connecting with them as much when you're typing those buttons as you are when you're writing the words on the page in your own writing. But the second reason I really don't like digital journaling is our phones are distracting. You're not getting a break from all the texts, all the social media updates, the phone calls, the emails when you're writing in your journal on your phone. So those are just my thoughts initially. Okay, third objection. This was mine. This was mine for so long, you guys. This was my objection. I don't want to read this journal later. Ew. Like, I don't want to remember how weak I was or how sad I was. I somehow felt that I would think lesser of myself later, having seen that I was in a fragile place. Again, you hear that self-critic in that explanation of why not to journal, even there. Really, I just didn't want to be reminded of my low time. Understandable, right? Well, I'm so glad I pushed past that objection to journaling, because journaling and looking through the previous pages in my journal when I'm going through a hard time has been such a huge encouragement, because I can see what was happening. I can see how far I've come. I can see how the Lord has been faithful all the way through. And these things I'm complaining about today, I can look back through and say, whoa, look at all that came before. I can have faith that I'll figure this one out too, right? So I was just sharing about this with that client in the call before recording this podcast. And I was sharing with her that, just a few weeks ago, I was feeling just a lack of purpose. My kids are older. What am I doing? Do I need to go back to work? Like, everyone's in school. They don't really need me, but they still do kind of need a warm body at the house. So I was just kind of like complaining to God in my journal. And this is one of many ways you can use your journal. So if you're not one to like talk to God, keep listening. There's plenty here for you. But that's something that I do in my journal, is I write out some of my prayers and some of my cries to God. And so this cry to God like a month ago was like, I'm just like confused in my sense of purpose. What am I doing? I just feel so like empty and just blah right now. And then for whatever reason, I had like a few minutes left in my time allotted to journaling and Bible study that morning. And so I just decided to leaf back through my journal. And the book that I write in now for my journal, I've had for about 2 or 3 years. And so I just read these prayers, these much bigger problems that I had brought to God in the last couple of years. Like, God, bring my husband back after he moved out and we were going through it. Lord, bring my family back together. God, now that we're back together, heal us. Heal all of us. God, now that you've healed us, help us become involved at church. We need Christian fellowship. Those were all of my prayers on like the big stuff, all through these tear-stained pages in my journal, my lowest points. And looking back at those reminded me. And looking back at those made me feel so encouraged. Like, damn, I wasted no time complaining about this dumb thing. And not that it's not important to bring your small requests to the Lord. I'm not saying that. But man, I wasted no time just finding something new to complain about when He had provided so much answered prayer. And I love that. So looking back through your journal doesn't show us how weak and sad you were. It shows us how far you've come, girl. What you've been victorious over. And that is so encouraging. There are so many benefits to journaling. I'm just so excited to jump into my top 4 with you. And then I'm going to get into some practical tips on how to up-level your journaling, okay? The biggest thing I love about journaling is it allows me to see how far I've come, okay? And that encourages me, and it crafts a sense of gratitude inside of me for all of the things that are working in my life. Because I don't know about you, but I can tend to think about everything that's not working. I'm a problem solver. So to solve the problem, you got to look at the problems, right? Journaling flips that and helps me remember everything that's working. The second thing that's so powerful about journaling, I love this. Journaling helps you hear your voice. And journaling helps you own your voice. And so in doing so, you can powerfully transform your life. So let me explain. Journaling is your inner thoughts, okay? And getting them on paper helps you hear yourself. That helps you know yourself better and your intentions and what's driving you, what's important to you, what's not important to you. And that can be used to powerfully transform your life. A lot of times when I journal, I'll just sit down and just be like, I'm going to write what's on my mind right now. It'll be like a half a page, okay? And then what I love doing is being like, okay, let me read back over that. Oh, wow. Interesting that that's what I pulled out. It's almost like I don't think much about what I'm vomiting onto the page. And then I read back over it and I'm like, interesting perspective. It's kind of weird. It sounds like I have like 2 personalities, but I love it because I'm letting myself tell myself what's important right now and what's not. So the worst thing you can do with journaling is overthinking it. And I'll get more into that later on in this episode. So this is something that I employ when we first meet in our joy coaching sessions. I want to hear from you exactly what's going on. I take notes and then we come up with your goals. And it's my job to help you build a life so you can reach them. And I hold you accountable. But before any of that happens, I need you as my client to get very honest about where you are really at. That's your inner voice. That's your goals, your story, your perspective. There's no right or wrong inner voice. Actually, there is a wrong inner voice, the one that's trying to tell me what I want to hear or that's trying to perform in the journal. You don't need to be positive if you're not. You don't need to be positive. I can't talk. You don't need to be positive if you're not feeling positive. Okay? You don't. When you're trying to dig out of whatever you're trying to dig out of, it's so important from the outset for me to hear that inner voice. And there's something about writing out those thoughts that is so powerful. Don't take my word for it. Try it. The third journaling benefit is journaling helps you get your ego and feelings in a journal so that you don't make situations about yourself. Oh, that hits, doesn't it? That's one from the journaling session at the resort, okay? Journaling helps you get your ego and feelings in a journal so that you don't make situations about yourself. Okay, yeah, I'd like more of that, please. Yeah, you get it out. You process it yourself first. Because I'm going to be honest with you, it's a little toxic to have a tough time. And I know that there are exceptions to this, like when you're going through life storms and you're rocked off your boat and you have your inner circle that you are going to for advice. That's different. But if it's just a rough day and the first thing you do is pick up the phone to call someone, think on that. Think on that. Is that the output that you want to be doing in the world? Again, this isn't about suppressing how you're feeling, but it's about sitting with how you're feeling for a minute. Journaling's a great opportunity to do that. Work through your stuff and then enter the world. Okay? There's a little added perspective, and you're not going to be making every situation about you. Ooh, I loved that truth bomb from the journaling session that I went to. My fourth benefit, one of the best things about journaling, when it's free flowing, it can help you release and lighten. Who doesn't want to feel released and lightened? Lighten was my word of the year last year. I know a lot of moms out there who just want to feel lightened. Okay? It was one of my clients' words also. This is one of the things I love most about my personal journaling practice. It needs to be free-flowing, and it's my place to dump, release, and let go and move forward. Otherwise, I'm carrying it all day, okay? So here's a little bit more on my personal journaling practice, just to glean ideas. This doesn't mean this is the way to journal. This is just how I do it and what works for me. First things first, as a mom of 4 kids, I'm never guaranteed alone time unless I get up before anyone wants to get up, which is about 5 o'clock in the morning lately. So I really work to get up first thing in the morning. I try to get up an hour before my kids, because then by the time I get my workout clothes on, I don't work out yet, but I get my clothes on before I leave my bedroom. Excuse me. I brew coffee. I probably do a little bit of house straightening. I light my candle. By the time I sit down, we're about 15 to 20 minutes in. So I have about 40 minutes left. Okay. So first thing in the morning, wake up an hour before my kids and I sit down. Okay. And the whole getting up early thing, it's not for everyone. It's not even been for me in every season. Like in my depression season, my cute little depression, I was trying to sleep in as much as I could. But I try generally to wake up between 4:30 and 5. And I have a podcast episode all about how, and most importantly, why I do that. And I will link it in the episode notes for you. So the 5 things that I bring to journaling that I would recommend you bring too. Some of these really aren't things. 5 sounds like a lot. It's not. Okay. The first thing that you need to bring to journaling, you need privacy. This isn't something to do, in my opinion, while the kids are like running around at your feet, while you're at a soccer game. No, just be alone, because when you're talking about that inner voice, that's what comes out when you're alone and it's still and quiet. A lot of times, the most common time to hear your inner voice is when you first wake up in this. I can't talk today. A lot of times, the most common time to hear your inner voice is when you first wake up in the morning and you're kind of willing yourself out of bed and you're just kind of laying there, stream of consciousness, in and out of sleep. And also when you're trying to fall asleep at night, because it's just you and the darkness and your thoughts. Oh, your thoughts keeping you up at night, right? So the first thing to bring to journaling, privacy. Highly recommend privacy. That's why I get up early. That's the only reason. If I could be private at noon, I would, but that's when I work. So no. Second thing, a blank journal. Bunch of blank pages in a book. That's all you need. Third thing, a pen. Again, write it down. The practice of writing it down slows down your thoughts. It's a physical thing. You're writing it down. You can see your own writing later. The fourth thing to bring to journaling, I would say 10 to 20 minutes of time. 10 to 20 minutes of time to just download what you need to download. Sometimes I journal for longer. Sometimes I just make a list of things. And I'm going to get into all the different things you can do in your journal, because there literally are no rules at all. I list things. That'll take 5 minutes and it just gets it off my brain. The fifth thing that I love bringing to journaling is my favorite candle. Okay, I have this candle that we went to. Do you guys watch the show Bloodline on Netflix? I'm getting to a point here, I promise. So it's a show that takes place in the Florida Keys, and we love the show. And so we looked up, where is this show filmed? It's like in the series, the family owns this kind of bed and breakfast type of place. It's like a bunch of villas on the Gulf of Mexico. These little white cottages, really, not really villas. Anyway, we found out where it is filmed. And then we were like, we're so staying there. So we went to go stay there. Okay. So we're in one of these cottages and they have this candle. Literally the best scent I've ever smelled. It's called Cashmere and it's by Linnea Candles. And it's an investment. It's like a $40 candle. Okay. But it's so good. And so that's my little treat to myself. I buy this $40 candle. I have it shipped to me and I keep it next to my Bible and my journal. And you know what that means? Here's what that means. This is my time. This is my time. This is my sanctuary. This is my 10 to 20 minutes for me. And it's funny because you might relate to this. Sometimes when I light that candle, I'm like, I shouldn't light it. I'm only going to be here for 5 minutes. It's just me. And that's my cue that like, no, this is exactly what I should be doing because this candle is me saying this time is for me, is me saying this is my moment. I call it my sanctuary. Those pre-dawn moments before the kids wake up, the candle's going, it's dark, the dogs are still in their kennel, like the world hasn't woken up yet. That's my time. Okay, so those are my 5 things to bring to journaling. And honestly, let's keep it real. Sometimes I wake up feeling so negative and I just need to get that out on paper. And so by the time I'm done listing all that out, I just feel lighter and I feel more positive about the day. It's kind of the same as venting to someone, but you're not giving power to the vent by speaking it. You're just writing it and being like, here, journal, take this. Just writing it helps me process. Again, don't take my word for it. Try it, you guys. Try it. Okay, so you want to journal. You've gotten past your objections. You've got the 5 things you need to get started. And here's what I want to tell you. There's one rule of journaling. There's one rule. If you learn nothing else today, there is one rule of journaling, and that is there are no rules. There are no rules, girl, okay? I used to think I had to write out thoughtful paragraphs, and I had to be coherent, and it had to be good vocabulary. After all, I'm a writer, so I pride myself on how I write. Nope. No. That's ego, okay? There are no rules with journaling. Something from that journaling session at the wellness resort was, they said, allow and be. Ooh, I like it. How often do you allow yourself to allow and be? I don't know about you. That's not my default. Push, force, work. That's my default, right? Allow and be. There are no rules for journaling. None at all. You are an artist with a blank slate. You are an artist with a blank slate. Oh. So you put on that canvas whatever the heck you want. There's a book that was mentioned in that journaling class. It's called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. I haven't read the book, so I can't say if I recommend it or not, but her approach to journaling is something that was brought up at the session, so I just wanted to share it here, and if you're interested, you can look up that book. Her approach was every morning you wake up and you write 3 pages that are literally a brain dump stream of consciousness. You don't think about it, you just write 3 pages. And her argument, and this is my argument too, is that offloading that information frees up your brain and soul to have more creative space in your life, okay? The 3 pages thing, I mean, I feel a little differently. I think journaling should be whatever it needs to be that day, okay? So I'm going to share some examples now of how I journal because it's not just writing full sentences. That sounds overwhelming, honestly, right? No, does not need to be full sentences, okay? Here's an example. I'm in a bad mood. This was last week. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed and I just wrote down a bunch of I feel statements. Okay, let me find that now. I told you I'm going to let you into my journal. Of course, I don't write in my journal to share it with people either, but I'm comfortable sharing these specific parts of it with you. Okay, just last week. I am angry. I am hurt. I feel dismissed. I feel that my experience is overlooked. I feel deeply disrespected. I feel alone. I feel frustrated. I feel trapped, suffocated. Ooh, that hits. You know how good that felt to get out? So good. Okay. One thing to note here too is work to write I feel instead of I am, because I'm going to remind you, you're not your thoughts. You're not. You're not your thoughts and feelings. Your thoughts and feelings change. And when we say I am anxious, for example, you're taking on that emotion. What I try to do, and I remind my clients to do, is shift that into I'm experiencing anxious thoughts. Okay? You're not taking on the anxiety, you're just experiencing the thoughts, and the implication is they'll be over in a bit, right? Sometimes I'm making a big decision and I literally write out the pros and cons, old fashioned. Remember that? Like in writing class in like 4th grade, a Venn diagram with pros and cons. I cut out drinking a few years ago, and now I've been dabbling a little bit. I drink very moderately on vacation only now, but I didn't have a stitch of alcohol for 2.5 years. And for the 7 years before that, in my journal, I was literally writing out the pros and cons about cutting alcohol out of my life. Do it. That's a big decision. Pro, I'll feel better every morning. Con, I'll lose this friend. Do it. Write out that pros and cons list and then send it to me and we can discuss it and we can work together and I can just help you walk into the alcohol-free or alcohol-moderated journey. Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. Other times, I actually shared about this recently in a reel. Oh, during this depression I was in, I had some big old stories that were bringing me down for months. And I knew I needed to do this exercise in my journal, but honestly, I wasn't ready until the very end of 2023. I finally said, I'm ready to do this now. So I pulled out my journal and I went to a quiet place in the woods. We were out at our hunting property. It was just amazing to be out in nature. That is another great thing if you can while you're journaling. Go into nature. Just do it. Thank me later. On one side of the page, I wrote out the old stories that I was tired of carrying, and I had a lot. I'm going to read a couple. On the other side of the page, I wrote the now story, the new story that I want to believe, that I want to walk into, that I want to meditate on. Do you know how powerful this is? Because then what you do, you read that now story as often as you need to, and you start believing it again. Okay, so let me find this example. Okay, here it is. This was such a transformative moment in my depression. I really left it behind me after I did this, okay? The old story, I am always so down. The now story that I wrote on the other side of the journal page. This time of stillness has afforded me the margin to feel the feelings I need to continue on my beautiful and perfect healing journey. Well, that goes down a lot easier, doesn't it? I'll be really honest with you, brutally honest. My old story, I've lost confidence at what I do at She Just Glows, which is this work. I've lost confidence with this. Okay. The now story is this time of reflection and healing has been the perfect pause that I needed to replenish myself so that I can continue to push an invigorating flow of life and joy into my coaching practice. That now story serves me a heck of a lot better then, oh no, I've been depressed. I can't be a joy coach anymore. No. What I've found with coaching is that, and I find this with my own life coach, I am a life coach and I have a life coach. I practice what I preach. The more she's been, like the crap she's been through helps me realize that like, it's not just me, and she shares all the tools that have helped her. And that is my desire with my coaching practice too. It's not to show up and be like, hey, I've got this all figured out, so hop on board. I'll show you where we're going. The vibe that I bring is we're all trying to figure this out. Here's what's worked for me through life, through like trials and tribulations. This is what's worked for me. Okay, the last one. I just want to read one more of my old stories. I gained some weight during my cute little depression, and my old story was I've been comfort eating and gained weight. My now story, so much better. I've relaxed my eating discipline during this healing time, reaching for and allowing myself what sounds good as a gift to myself. Now I feel ready to shift my eating habits to align with what my body is craving now. Whole, clean foods. So, what old stories are you carrying around? The first exercise is identifying those stories and writing them in 1 or 2 sentences. And the next step is writing the now story that is still true, and it's a shift on that truth that is more inspiring, and it allows you to be more of a whole human, right? In other words, the fact that I gained weight during my depression, totally understandable. When you don't feel great, you want comfort in food. Okay, that makes sense. I'm allowed to be a whole human who doesn't always make perfect eating choices. And I don't need to feel bad about that. So that is a huge, huge transformational journaling practice that's worked in my life so majorly. I can't even think of the adjective, so I'm just saying majorly. Okay, another time, I'm just continuing with the ideas here. You don't have to write full sentences in your journal. Another time, I wrote the word shame in the middle of the page, and I circled it. And then all around it, I wrote down all the things I feel shame about. And then a line attaching those feelings to the shame circle. And as I wrote each of those things down, I just let go a little bit more each time. You can make lists. I wrote a list on my 1-year anniversary of taking a break from alcohol. I wrote down, I was just like, what have I done in this year that I wouldn't have done if my toxic best friend, backstabbing friend alcohol was still in the picture? By the way, I'll include links to some previous episodes about going alcohol free and alcohol moderating in case you're interested in that. But I literally wrote down like all the things I've done since I stopped drinking. So many. It was so encouraging. Just a list. Another list a few days ago. I wrote wins for January, and I wrote down all my wins, even the small ones. Like one of the wins was I found a stretch that helps my hip not hurt because I'm 42 and for whatever reason, my hip's been hurting lately. And that really connects to everything. You never think about your hip, but I do now. And I was like, I found a stretch for my hip that makes me not in pain as much as I was. And my trainer goes, that's one of your wins. I was like, okay. Another list, I wrote down goals for February. One of my goals was eating clean the whole month, and I've been doing it, and I feel so, so good. We can do this, guys. On New Year's Day, I usually write out my desires for the new year. You could call them resolutions. You can call them like, hey, what I want this year to look like and feel like. And then, of course, I go back to the old year's goals, and I see what I did with those. So there are no rules for this. This does not need to be long form writing. It can be words. It can be lists. It can be flowcharts. It can be pros and cons lists. It can be old and now stories lists. Oh my gosh, how much I would love to help you writing your old and now stories. There are no words for how much I would love to help you with that. So if you do want to write in long form, but you aren't sure what to write about, I'm going to share 10 prompts now. Okay. The first three are my favorite prompts. Basically, a prompt is just like, what am I going to write about? What question am I answering today? It should just be whatever you feel like, okay? But if you really need direction, the first three are my favorites. The last 7 are from my notes from the fancy transformational journaling class, okay? I'm just going to read through them. Number 1, how am I feeling right now? Number 2, what is my brain wrestling with, or what's distracting me when I try to be still? Can I journal or list out what the struggle is? Number 3, what am I grateful for today, or what do I wish for in my life? Number 4, this one is from Savannah. Where do I feel dis-ease in my body? Interesting. Never thought about writing that. Okay. Number 5, what can I move toward or let go of? Number 6, what did this time open up for me? Number 7, what are 3 things I love about myself? Number 8, how will I nourish or care for myself today? I love the word nourish. I just love the word nourish. Nurture and nourish. You're deserving of that too. It's not just your children and everyone around you. You can nourish and nurture yourself too. Number 9, what things do I want to manifest, or what have I manifested? You could also plug in the word prayed for and what prayers have been answered in that question. Number 10, I love this. Dogs, get out of my room here. I am grateful for the pendulum of life that allows good things and bad things to happen simultaneously. Girl, you are a whole, beautiful, flawed, imperfect human being. And journaling helps you dig into what makes you human. It helps us sort out our feelings on paper, better understand ourselves so that we can bring the joy that we want to our lives and to the lives of those around us. I know journaling sounds like something that you did in 4th grade and it's just for kids. But this isn't Dear Diary. This journaling practice can be a powerful tool in walking into the joy-filled life that is possible for you. So, get journaling. Let me know how it goes. And as always, thank you so much for being here. I love you guys.